I'm not my breath. I'm not even my body. I move beyond thinking. I move beyond thought. I move beyond even a single thought. And I invite Samuel and my guides to speak through me. Welcome back, surrounded by love and light you are, dear ones, and by the ones you call angels. For on this side of the veil, dear ones, we are not but vibrations, frequencies. In your realm, you recognize yourselves by these forms you walk around in. In our realm, we recognize each other by our energy signatures, as you would call it. And yes, we speak of these in this very moment as if there are just two, but there are many. Each one of you chose to experience this one that you are in right now. For these suits you wear, these physical suits you wear, allow you to experience this realm in a unique way. A way that we which are not in form do not experience with you. And each one of you experiences this form in your own unique way. This speech that you use has limitations of expression. Are not some of these very words you use, such as joy, are they not like multifaceted diamonds with many feelings, emotions tied to them, yet just one word tries to express the extent of the whole experience. We could go on and on with happiness or love or doubt or concern. This human experience, words fail us, is like stepping into a new world, so to speak. For the world on the other side of the veil is vastly different. As we stated at the beginning, in this very moment, there are many here with you, but only a handful of you are in physical form. And as you see, dear ones, when you are in physical form, you operate from the constraints of that physical form. What you can see, what you can hear, what you can sense, what you can smell. They are dictated by this physical vessel that you inhabit while you are here. Much to experience all the same, though, dear ones. Much to witness, much to learn, much to understand. You are far more than this physical body, dear ones. And yes, that is why you chose this experience. Yet again, many of you have come many times to this realm. Even the wee one we call Wink, this is not her first go-round, dear ones. Are there any questions?
I have one. I was when you were speaking to us, the thing that crossed my mind was that I wondered whether or not Thomas, Sarah, or Samuel had ever been in human form.
Thomas has. Sarah has not.
And Samuel?
Samuel is an aspect of the higher self of the one who sits before you. He feels this. And as we said earlier, words cannot express what he is feeling at this very moment. This energy that washes over and through him, as if it is going down to the very core of the earth and out into the heavens as far as he can imagine.
Is that what Keith is feeling?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's the way I understand it.
I have a question. You were speaking of energy and vibration. This sounds crazy, but this past year, when I look up at the stars, I used to see a light, a star. Now when I look up at the stars, I see many points of light for each star. Is there something wrong with my eyes, or am I seeing more than I used to see? I see the same thing with and without my glasses. But it's beautiful, but I've never seen it before this year.
Perceptions change, do they not, dear ones? This passage that his wife had him read this morning discussed this thing you call spirituality as like being a ray of the sun, but yet not being able to see the sun from whence it came. Are not all stars made up of many points of light? And some of these things you call stars are not even stars.
It all looks so much more beautiful, though, as many points of light.
Does that have anything to do with the movement of Earth through a different energy pathway?
This has been spoken of before. These perceptions of your solar system spinning around in this galaxy and the Milky Way, and these new images your satellites bring showing how vast this universe is. And yes, dear one, your whole Milky Way has moved into a new area, never before traveled through.
So then that would change our perceptions?
Yes, dear one. The energies you are moving through currently in this solar system are higher than they have ever been. That's why much change is on the way, dear ones. That's why ones like the one we speak through right now have been able to open up to this higher energy. This higher energy lifts them, allows them to do things they could not do a decade or two ago. The Mayans were right, dear ones. There was a reason they chose to end their calendar in 2012. It's because they knew it was the beginning of what you could term, I would suppose, a new age.
How did they know that?
They studied the stars, dear one. They realized before what we are speaking of. That this thing they noticed, the Milky Way, was moving into a different area of space. Always moving.
So are the current events on the order of the chaos to the order of things, or diversity of things. I didn't word that very well.
Old energies rising to the surface. Old energies trying to cling on to the old ways.
When the flashlight goes on, the roaches scatter.
Words of wisdom.
Not exactly the way I would put it, but
It's all those
It's a
points
good
of light.
visual though, Samuel. You might
Oh,
try it
yes.
sometime.
Oh, gosh.
Have it.
it is a very good visual because,
It
like we
is.
said, you are moving into an area of higher vibration, higher energies.
And you're moving with us. Or you are with us as support, or you're with us.
We are always with you for support, dear ones.
I'm curious about Thomas and how he came to become a guide from being human, and if he will become human again.
I guess you could call that the evolution of the soul, dear one. There are many lessons to be learned in your many lifetimes. And there are those who choose, just like there are those in your society who choose specific vocations. There are those who choose to be guides. They evolve to a point where they no longer need to reincarnate to learn the life lessons on this earth plane. But they choose to stay behind, to nurture those that are working through the same thing that they have gone through.
Since we're in physical form and we have the enjoyment of our senses, say for instance this sense of taste, and we are able to taste, say, an apple or a dessert or anything, a fruit or a dessert or anything. In the spirit world, is some kind of parallel sensation available?
How do we explain this? In the spirit world, you can choose what you wish to experience. And yes, you are still learning. The learning never stops. The growth never stops. When you are pure energy, dear one, you can express to those in physical form as you once were in physical form. And sometimes those in physical form, and it can actually sense it. I mean, this one we speak through has had numerous encounters with his dear ginger dog since she transitioned a little over a year ago. Sometimes he gets a visual image of her. The most profound occurrence he had was when he was standing in the kitchen and he looked down because he felt her brush his leg. He knew who it was. Yet with his physical eyes, he could not see. But he knew she was there. Just as Mary Jo spoke of looking at the sky and seeing it differently. This is another aspect of seeing it differently. As we have said, these human forms are wonderful vessels, but they do have restrictions. And yes, there are those who can see angels on your planet, not everyone. They are considered gifted.
Well, like in the case of seeing someone or being somewhere and then all of a sudden someone's face or a memory pops up, or a laugh, or the way, whether it's a person or an animal, does that mean that they're with you right then? Kind of jolting you, hello?
Just dropping in to say hi, dear one.
Could you speak to us about timelessness on that side of the veil, or say something to help us to understand time on this side? Is there anything you can say that would give us more understanding?
This human form, that is one of the reasons you experience this human form is to experience time. How do we explain timelessness? When you are in this physical form, you are so entrenched in this thing you call time.
Is timelessness like when we meditate and we lose track of all tethering? Does it feel something like that?
Again, just the mere saying, does it feel? You are putting it in terms of this physical form that you're wearing.
Absolutely.
Where we said,
So time is more being, just being.
have not, like Carla just mentioned, have not at points, you have been so very focused on what you are doing, be it gardening or a sport or whatever, that you become disassociated with this thing called time. You lose yourself. Have you not lost yourself at some point?
That's why I'm out in the yard.
I was
yes.
going to say.
I do not mean physically, dear ones. I mean, have you just not lost yourself so deep
Mm-hmm. No floor.
in concentration, in focus of what you're doing, be it sewing, be it whatever, be it even driving a car, be it listening to music, be it the meditation you talked about, that when you come out, you do not know how much time has lapsed.
Is it
I
like-
guess that is the closest we can bring it to you with these things called words. Each one of you has experienced this many, many times. It's just when you are encased in this human form, you are so locked into what is available to you from the human form.
So when people go home, do they lose a sense? I mean, like, do they know? Because what I've learned is, or what I've heard, is that when people go home, they don't necessarily know that they're on the other side yet, and so time is really strange because, you know.
They have to adapt, you mean?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
The spirit has to adapt to
Mhm.
formlessness.
Yeah.
But yet they probably have form to help them, comfort them along, you think? Or at least
A guide, like Samuel. Or Thomas.
And know that when you cross, your guides are with you, dear ones.
Right. Right. Just kind of wondering about the
And
time.
it is this is such a strange one to pose to you folks. You in your human suits sit here, and when one transitions, you weep and you mourn their death. And yet there is a grand celebration when they return home and they are surrounded by their loved ones. And all the pains or anything that they experienced in the final hours of their life just slip away. They are surrounded by love and light. Their guides, their loved ones are everywhere around them.
My mom passed several years ago, and she has become one of my guides. So how is that different from Thomas being Keith's guide? Or is it?
How do we say this? We have mentioned that you have been here many times. I guess the word we could use would be like a soul tribe. Your mother is part of your soul tribe. And just because she was your mother this time does not mean that she wasn't your daughter or a friend or a cousin in a past lifetime. As we spoke, Samuel has been with this one always. And we said, Thomas has chosen to help him along, so to speak.
So is Thomas a guide to Samuel and Sarah as well? And is someone a guide to Thomas?
Thomas has those that are assisting him, yes.
Okay. So everybody has helpers no matter what.
There are many realms, dear ones. There are many levels. Again, we use this word, infinite. It's just like timelessness. How do you explain infinite?
Okay, I have another.
You are eternal beings. How do you explain eternal? How can you and your mental faculties in this meat suit you wear wrap your mind around that one? What is eternal? How can you explain the unexplainable? And many of these terms we speak of are unexplainable. You put a word on it, but you really cannot fully understand it. Just as timelessness. How can you explain that to someone who exists only in time? Reference. There is no reference. Is that not what the early explorers witnessed? When the Indians came to the beaches and they could not even see the ships they were on because they had no reference for this vehicle that they were using to cross the sea. And yes, a shaman or two.
Well, with regard to all these guides, I've heard from other channels that there are like 12 of us, like, oh, time, sorry. So like each of us, there's like in this physical body, and then there's 11 other of us, like in different dimensions. So then I guess it would be possible if one of us were here in physical form and another part of us was a guide to the physical form.
A higher aspect.
Right.
That's just what he said Samuel was.
Yes,
A higher aspect of him.
Samuel is a higher aspect of me. Of this one that sits here, that you see before you, dear ones.
And Samuel,
There is only so much energy a human form can withstand. That's why we tell you so often how powerful you are. If the totality of your spiritual essence, your energy signature came into human form, this human form could not sustain it. So yes, this one we speak through, from that perspective, is in two places at once. But these penchant you have for putting numbers on these different realms you can exist in at once mean nothing to us in the timeless state.
Thank you, Samuel, for coming to speak with us this evening.
Thank you, Samuel.
Do you realize, dear ones, as an example, let's say, that the mother of 7 children transitions, and those 7 children are scattered all over the globe? If each one of those children at this very same time called on their mother's energy for assistance, she could be with each one of them at once. That is what timelessness is. That is what the other side, where no form exists. I hope that example cast a wee bit of light on what it is you speak of.
That's a good example. Timelessness.
We thank you, dear ones. And we appreciate you. bid you adieu. We bid you adieu.
Thank you, Keith.
We'll have to continue this discussion next time.
Yeah.